Deep in the Pacific Ocean, an ancient fire has created a dangerous light show for 8 centuries. Not far away, a stone city still stands in the middle of the sea. An island that once disappeared from the map. A wartime graveyard resting beneath the water. And that is only the beginning of the Pacific Ocean's strangest secrets. Beneath the calm waters of Chuck Lagoon lies one of the largest wartime graveyards on Earth. Dozens of warships and aircraft still rest where they sank more than 8 decades ago, as if time had never passed. Chuck Lagoon is a vast lagoon enclosed by a coral reef system stretching approximately 140 miles. Its rare natural scale and strategic location in the heart of the Pacific transformed it into one of the most important forward bases of the Imperial Japanese Navy. For this reason, many Western observers once referred to it as the Pearl Harbor of Japan. But the stories of Chuck Lagoon are not yet finished. In 2020, Project Recover announced the discovery of 3 missing World War II aircraft on the floor of the lagoon. After surveying 27 square miles of seabed, researchers traced the final paths of pilots who never returned from their last mission. Even today, people continue to shape the fate of this place. In 1973, Kimiuo Isek opened the first dive center, introducing Chuck Lagoon's Ghost Fleet to the world. Yet elsewhere in the lagoon, blast fishing using munitions left behind from the war has accelerated corrosion on some wrecks by as much as 46%. Behind those peaceful waters lies a moment that once turned the sky red. In only a few brief seconds, a massive ship vanished beneath the surface, claiming 945 lives. Beneath layers of coral that continue to grow silently each year, the past remains exactly where it was left behind, and it seems that the ocean has never forgotten what happened at Chuck Lagoon. In the middle of the eastern Pacific Ocean, Clipperton appears as a tiny coral ring forgotten in the endless ocean. A motionless lagoon rests within it, but the most frightening thing about this island has never been on the surface. Clipperton's total land area is only about 3.4 square miles. From above, it almost disappears into the ocean's endless blue. Beneath the central lagoon, layers of sediment descend to a depth of approximately 240 feet, enough to swallow a 24-story building into darkness. That isolation has created a world operating by its own rules. Tens of thousands of masked boobies nest on the island, while beneath them, countless orange land crabs move continuously across the coral flats like a living current. Here, the food chain can sometimes reverse in astonishing ways, as small crustaceans become a threat to newly hatched chicks. But nature was not the only thing transformed by isolation. Humans were as well. When supply ships stopped arriving, Victoriano Alvarez declared himself king and ruled through terror for years. Beneath him, the bottomless pit, filled with sulfur, remained submerged in waters almost devoid of life. Clipperton still lies in the middle of the ocean, a place where both nature and humanity once revealed their most extreme instincts. In the western Pacific Ocean lies a small island that preserves one of the most unusual monetary systems ever created by humanity. On Yap, wealth cannot always be stored in a pocket, nor does it necessarily have to remain on land. Yap's highest point is only about 584 feet above sea level, yet the island administers more than 100,000 square miles of ocean. A maritime region nearly equivalent in size to the state of Colorado is managed from a landmass of only about 38 square miles, smaller than many modern cities. Throughout the villages, enormous limestone rice stones rest along the roads like relics of another civilization. They were carved in Palau and transported across hundreds of miles of open ocean to reach Yap. Their value does not lie in their size or weight, but in the story of the journey that brought them there. Some are still recognized as being owned even though they have remained on the seafloor for generations. In the waters surrounding the island, manta rays frequently gather at natural cleaning stations on the coral reefs, where the ocean continues its own ancient rituals. Across the vast blue horizon, an ancient skill still challenges the limits of the modern world. Navigators travel hundreds of miles across the ocean using only the stars, the waves, and memory, without any instruments. Yap is a reminder that the greatest treasures are sometimes not gold or silver, but knowledge that has been preserved. In the Solomon Islands, a vast lagoon stretches out like a sea trapped between pieces of land. Morovo Lagoon covers 270 square miles and is the largest double barrier reef system on the planet. Surrounded by extinct volcanoes rising as high as 3,300 feet, Morovo Lagoon spans an area roughly equivalent to the land area of New York City. Humans have lived here for approximately 30,000 years, longer than the entire recorded history of many modern nations. Throughout the lagoon lies a maze of coral islands, mangrove forests, and towering cliffs reflected in turquoise waters. Beneath the surface, hundreds of coral species connect to form living walls stretching across miles of sea, creating one of the richest ecosystems in the Pacific. Its biodiversity is so extensive that in 2004, scientists expanded the boundaries of the Coral Triangle to include Morovo. Yet while millions of cubic meters of valuable timber continue to leave the region, many local communities still lack even the most basic healthcare services. Hidden beneath the calm waters is an ancient covenant. The Morovo people live alongside crocodiles weighing up to 2,200 pounds and believe they are the spirits of ancestors guarding this land. Morovo Lagoon is a reminder that some of the world's greatest landscapes are shaped not only by nature, but also by belief. If there are still blank spaces left on the map of the oceans, would we have the courage to enter this place? In the vast expanse of the ocean lies an island that looks like a coral ring lifted above the water's surface. Within it is a massive lake that was isolated from the sea long before humans appeared, a place where life evolved along its own distinct paths. Rennell is the world's largest raised coral atoll, covering approximately 216,000 acres and stretching 53 miles in length. But what makes this island remarkable is not its size. At its center lies Lake Tegano, covering about 60 square miles, the largest enclosed lake in the Pacific. With depths reaching up to 145 feet, this ancient body of water extends through the island's core like a fragment of the ocean trapped within the land. Thousands of years of isolation have created a world that is almost entirely separate. Dozens of native animal species live here, including some found nowhere else on Earth. The most notable is Latticota crockery, the only known venomous sea snake species that lives exclusively in the brackish waters of Lake Tegano. But isolated ecosystems are often the most fragile ecosystems as well. In 2019, the oil spill from the MV Solomon Trader became one of the most serious threats ever faced by Reno. Scientists estimate that some of the island's coral reefs may require up to 130 years to recover completely. Within those ancient waters, there may still be secrets that time is not yet ready to reveal. In the Solomon Islands lies a small island undergoing a transformation rarely seen on Earth. Surrounded by deep lagoons and isolated coral reefs, Vanikoro feels like a separate world, where nature is still quietly rewriting itself. Covering only about 75 square miles, roughly the size of Washington, D.C., Vanikoro possesses natural extremes far beyond what its size would suggest. Each year, approximately 200 inches of rain fall on the island, nearly 3 times the amount received by many other volcanic islands in the region. Encircling Vanikoro is a lagoon reaching depths of up to 340 feet, creating a natural boundary between the island and the vast ocean beyond. Beneath the water, a nearly vertical coral wall about 40 feet high runs along the inner edge of the barrier reef. It was this very structure that led Charles Darwin to regard Vanikoro as a remarkable example of the process by which volcanic islands gradually transform into coral atolls. Even the island's dense tropical rainforest continues to conceal surprises, as the Vanikoro flying fox, once believed extinct, was unexpectedly rediscovered in 2014. But Vanikoro's most famous mystery lies beyond geology. In 1788, the expedition of La Perouse was wrecked on the coral reefs surrounding the island. For 39 years, the fate of the survivors almost completely vanished from history. Vanikoro continues to change with each passing day, as though the island itself is undergoing a transformation. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean exists a place where maps once became useless. A single explosion erased an entire island from the surface of the sea and left a scar that remains visible to this day. This is Bikini Atoll, the most infamous nuclear site on the planet. Bikini Atoll is forever linked to one of the most controversial chapters of the nuclear age. During the Castle Bravo test, the force released blasted an amount of material equivalent to hundreds of skyscrapers into the sky and carved a crater nearly a mile wide into the lagoon. The explosion produced approximately 15 megatons of energy, nearly 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. Today, beneath the calm waters rests the wreck of the USS Saratoga, part of a wartime graveyard lying on the floor of the lagoon. Yet nature has not surrendered completely. During a 2017 survey, scientists documented massive coral formations growing along the edge of the hydrogen bomb crater. Even so, water and sediment samples still contain some of the highest concentrations of plutonium ever measured in the ocean. The greatest tragedy did not happen to the corals or the warships. In 1946, 167 Bikini residents were forced to leave their homeland, while many Marshallese communities later became subjects of long-term studies on the effects of radiation across generations. If a single explosion on a small island in the middle of the ocean could leave traces within the bodies of billions of people, have we truly understood the full cost of the nuclear age? Amid the tropical gardens of Samoa, a perfect circle opens in the ground like a gateway to another world. Beneath the green canopy lies a deep turquoise pool, where beauty and mystery exist side by side. To SUA is a giant sinkhole approximately 100 feet deep and up to 115 feet wide. It formed around 1,400 years ago when an ancient lava dome collapsed after volcanic activity, leaving behind a remarkable void in an otherwise peaceful tropical landscape. Looking down from the rim, the crystal clear water reflects the light like a perfect pool hidden away from the rest of the world. Beneath those waters lies an ancient lava tube that still connects to the open sea. Schools of tropical fish quietly swim through a place once filled with molten rock. Many visitors find themselves falling silent as they gaze into the deep blue below, where it feels as though a lake and the ocean meet within the same space. Everything looks like paradise, but not everyone sees it that way. The slippery wooden ladder leading down to the water forces every hand to hold on tightly. Local residents say that no one should swim there after dark. Below, an underwater tunnel leads directly to the sea and has long been associated with stories of disappearances and the Ada spirits that have been passed down through generations. To SUA is beautiful beyond belief, but sometimes the most beautiful places are also the most mysterious. In the vast and indifferent Pacific Ocean, can a nation survive after selling the very ground beneath its feet? Nauru is the world's smallest island nation, but its story is measured not by its size, but by what has been lost. The entire island of Nauru covers only about 8 square miles. During the colonial era, the scale of the whole nation was once compared to that of a small village in England. Yet beneath that modest land lay a resource capable of changing the island's destiny. Everything began in 1900 when Albert Ellis discovered rich phosphate deposits. For a century, heavy machinery continuously dug deeper into the core of Nauru. As the resource gradually disappeared, the landscape changed as well. Today, the island's interior appears as a maze of gray-white stone, where sharp limestone pinnacles rising up to 49 feet stand above the ground like the ruins of a collapsed world. Those scars are not confined to the landscape, they have also shaped the future of the entire nation. After a century of mining, nearly 80% of Nauru's land became almost uninhabitable. In 2025, the government launched a citizenship by investment program, hoping to generate resources to address continuously rising sea levels. In the middle of the ocean, Nauru endures, but the future of the island remains an open question. Standing on the rim of Mount Yaser is like stepping into a machine in operation. Explosions erupt continuously, the ground trembles beneath your feet, the smell of sulfur mixes with streams of hot air spreading across a vast ash-covered plain. The volcanic crater is nearly 1,300 feet wide, stretching the equivalent of 4 American football fields placed end to end. Rising about 1,200 feet above sea level, it is one of the longest continuously erupting systems on the planet. Radiocarbon studies indicate that the current eruptive cycle began around the year 1270. More than 800 years later, the volcano continues operating with almost no interruption. A 2023 seismic study alone recorded approximately 344,000 tremors in a single year, like the steady heartbeat of the world below. Molten rocks can be hurled from the crater at speeds of up to 650 feet per second. At times, the shock wave has reached the chest before the sound of the explosion had time to arrive. Some volcanoes change the world through rare disasters. Mount Yeser does it every day, and it has not stopped yet. Why would a community choose to build its life inside the very volcano that once destroyed it? Hundreds of miles south of Tokyo, Aogashima rises like an isolated fortress, where one volcanic crater sits neatly inside another volcano. From a distance, the island appears as a green ring floating in the Pacific Ocean. But the land visible above the surface is only the summit of a massive volcanic system measuring about 9 miles long and 5 miles wide, containing nearly 7.2 cubic miles of volcanic material. Measured from the seafloor, it rises more than 3,600 feet, nearly 3 times the height of the Empire State Building. Within this structure, life continues. Around the Maruyama crater, geothermal steam quietly escapes from beneath the ground, where surface temperatures can range from 70 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Residents make use of this heat source for many aspects of daily life, but the presence of the volcano has never been something they forget. After the 1785 eruption killed nearly half of the island's population, Aogashima was abandoned for almost half a century. Today, people still live above a magma chamber located less than a mile beneath the surface. On Aogashima, survival is not about escaping nature, but about accepting life alongside its power. To reach the most beautiful valleys of Hunza, people must first overcome a challenge that causes many A 635-foot suspension bridge hangs between rocky mountains, crossing a powerful glacial river below. From a distance, the bridge is a thin thread stretched between two cliffs. But once you step onto it, its true scale becomes apparent. Nearly as long as 2 American football fields. The bridge was built in 1968 and hangs about 100 feet above the Hunza River. Yet its length is not what made it famous. Planks are tied to steel cables, while the gaps between them can be as wide as. Every step forces people to look down through openings that lead directly to waters below. The steel cables hum in the wind. The wooden planks sway gently beneath each footstep. All around, peaks of the Pasu cones rise like gigantic stone blades. Strangely, that sense of fear has never stopped daily life from continuing. Cling tightly to the cables as they make their way across. Local residents still carry goods, livestock, and essential supplies over the bridge as a routine day life. More than half a century has, yet the bridge continues to connect remote villages with the outside world. Perhaps the Pacific's greatest secrets have never been hidden in places that are too remote, but in things humanity has yet to explain. And beyond that horizon, many more stories are still waiting to be discovered.